Hello, welcome back to my channel. We are continuing with War City Magazine, as you can see from the title. And I have just noticed that I might have watched video regarding people trying to replicate BTS, but I don't think I've watched this one. At least when I went back to see the list of War City Magazine video that I've watched, and I don't see this on the list. So without further ado, let's go check it out.
In
Okay.
2019,
So before we start, I'm gonna drink some water because, as with all City magazine, I might get triggered. So we'll see. Let me just calm myself down with some tea first. Okay, let's go.
BTS were already well established as the biggest group in the world. 2 years after their American TV debut had already passed, and their success only kept growing. The name BTS was associated with some of the biggest names in the music industry. This helped K-pop grow as a whole, but BTS were the only ones in the spotlight in the Western music industry. The K-pop industry noticed this, so SM, one of the biggest entertainment agencies in South Korea, had the idea to create
So I know I'm way behind. I'm very late, but I know there's some. I think lately there were news that Hype trying to do a hostile takeover of SM. So that's another thing. So I wonder if Born City Magazine gonna do a piece on that, but you know. But then again, it's not really BTS. BTS is just Hype. So whatever. Let's continue.
a supergroup formed of the 7 most popular members of some of the most popular K-pop groups and promoted them as the Avengers of K-pop. This way, their success was supposed to be guaranteed, and their chances of becoming the next BTS were bigger than the chances of the hundreds of other
I did not listen to any of their songs because just by the name, you said jump or jope is kind of weird. But anyway,
K-pop groups also trying to level with the success of BTS. This supergroup did everything they could. Their label SM Entertainment partnered with the US label Capitol Records. Their debut stage was in Hollywood. Their TV debut was on the Ellen DeGeneres Show. They also performed on Jimmy Kimmel. Their premiere event was in
and they're also seven. I just noticed that they were also seven, not five, not six, not eight, but seven.
Los Angeles and had American press. Their debut album had 8 different versions, one
Oh,
regular version
okay.
and one individual edition for each of the 7 members. And they started an American tour right away. All of this promotion helped them get a #1 on the Billboard 200 albums charts.
Of course, if you have eight different versions, how many copies should the fan get, right? At least two. One's for the group, one's for the favorite member, I guess.
Making them the second Korean act to top the chart, only after BTS. This made Los Angeles Times and entertainment companies predict that this group was going to be the next BTS. But there was something weird. Outside of the K-pop sphere, no one really knew about them. They were everywhere, and their album was #1, but the songs of the album were nowhere to be found on song charts like the Billboard Hot 100, or even in the top 20 of the bubbling under Hot 100. And right after their album debuted at #1, it disappeared from the top 10. Their second album had a similar story. The Avengers of K-pop performed in American TV shows and even partnered with Marvel for limited edition merchandise. But their album debuted at #2 with none of its songs charting on the Hot 100. This was only one of the multiple failed Next BTS attempts, whether they are Korean girl groups or Korean boy groups. Year after year, Korean entertainment agencies and American music labels have been trying to replicate BTS's success.
You guys are the biggest boy band in the world. In the world.
It's not a secret that the K-pop industry has been studying BTS's popularity for years. An industry official said, right now, the biggest concern in the K-pop industry is who will make the next BTS. So all attention is focused on the performance of the United States. The entertainment agency's main strategy to set the narrative that
No one is replacing my boys. The next big group might come along, but they are not going to be BTS. So let's just set that straight.
their group is the actual Next BTS, is to hyper-focus on getting one or two achievements that BTS previously had. But since this is almost impossible, they go out of their way to find strategies in which they can be named together, hoping that people won't bother to know the context. One example is album sales. BTS are the second group only after the Beatles to get 3 #1 albums in less than a year. This phrase was everywhere.
And they just became the first group since the Beatles to earn 3 #1 albums in less than a year.
This is a very hard record for K-pop or for any artist to achieve, but getting at least one #1 album may be enough to be named in the same conversation as BTS. So although these groups cannot have an organic #1 album because of lack of demand in the US, they still can sell multiple versions of the same album with different pictures that fans can collect at a very small price. This will lead to a lot of album sales, but not song sales or streams. So the normal thing for a real #1 album is to have at least one top 10 song or multiple songs on the Billboard Hot 100, because if an album is popular, then at least one song of the album has to be popular. This doesn't happen with K-pop albums because they are not actually big in the US, but that doesn't matter. These groups technically have a #1 or a #2 album, so entertainment agencies will use this to pretend like they will be the next BTS because they have the same achievement. Another example, BTS are one of the few artists who can sell out stadium tours these days. This is something extremely hard even for
It was so much fun.
the biggest Western artists you can imagine. So K-pop's strategy to pretend like they also have a stadium tour is to have at least one concert in places like the Bank of California Stadium, which doesn't actually have a stadium capacity. It has an arena capacity of only 20,000 people. A stadium is just part of the arena venue
That, that is so sneaky. Oh my goodness, I did not even know that. Okay.
name. An actual stadium tour, like BTS's tours, is composed of
goodness.
multiple concerts in stadiums with 40,000 to 80,000
Let's see. Yeah, SoFi. I was over there. I was at SoFi. Yeah. Uh-huh. And yes, and these are stadiums.
seats in each concert. So thanks to media play, other K-pop groups can be named as the next BTS because they are supposedly having stadium tours when they are actually performing in arenas, theaters, and one arena venue that has a stadium in its name. These type of strategies are very common. Whenever BTS does something, the K-pop industry focuses on that something. This is why K-pop groups started submitting their work to the Grammys only after BTS started getting nominations to the Grammys. And not only that, but if BTS is nominated to Best Pop Duo Group Performance, the media's attention is on Best Pop Duo Group Performance.
I know I talked about this before, the best top dual group performance when BTS was the only group that actually meet the criteria of group, not collab. But what do I know, right?
So K-pop groups submit their songs for this category. One of the latest BTS Grammy nominations is for Best Music Video. This is a new achievement for them because they've never been nominated for this category. So I can assure you that next year, K-pop groups will start submitting their music videos for this category, and the media will drop predictions saying that they will also be nominated because the industry only goes after what BTS already has.
UK.
All of these were the next BTS
Lord.
K-pop attempts. But what about Western attempts? In a video I made some time ago, I went through the multiple attempts of creating the
Yes, I watched this one. I think this might be the first one I watched. Man, I was so pissed. But then again, am I not pissed in every of the Veracity magazine videos? So it should be a norm. I should expect this. Okay. Phew.
the next big boy band after One Direction. And these attempts came around 2016 and 2017 when BTS were right
In this group, I remember this group. CNCO, whatever, you know. Okay. I don't want to use foul language, but what the F? Okay, let's move on.
rising to popularity in the West and were named the biggest group in the world. However, I don't think these new boy bands were trying to be the next BTS, because BTS were fairly new and BTS were seen as a fluke or a weird phenomenon that will last probably 1 or 2 years. But year after year passed by and the multiple new Western boy bands, which were backed by the biggest Western music labels, kept failing trying to surpass BTS. And not even the biggest comebacks of popular old boy bands could compete against BTS. So in 2019, Simon Cowell, the creator of One Direction, had the amazing idea of creating a new British group that would become bigger than BTS, and said that his UK pop group will destroy the K.
Did he really say that? Make it white? Okay. Well, I have to admit, I'm not a very politically correct person. I'm really not. Okay. Many times I speak my mind, but that's just my own opinion. But really, make it white? Do we have to make music a race thing? Okay, that's the reason I never liked this dude, I guess. Okay, never knew why, but now I guess there's a reason why I never liked this guy.
K-pop group which is ruling the world.
We're going to try and find either the biggest boy group in the world or
Even his dog is disgusted with him. Look at the poor doggy.
the biggest girl group in the world. We've done it before. We're going to do it
The dog is like, what the hell are you talking about? See,
again. Right now, K-pop, you could argue, is ruling the world. Now, it's time for UK pop.
So his singing show The X Factor had a special season called The X Factor The Band, dedicated to group together a boy band and a girl band. These two groups would then compete against each other, and the winner would get a record deal with Simon Cowell's label Psycho Music, release their debut album, and become the biggest group in the world. In the end, the boy band Simon created ended up losing the show, not signing to Psycho Music, and breaking up a few months after their creation. The girl group did get a record deal with Psycho Music, but they never released a debut album, and one of the 6 members left the group to pursue a solo career. In 2022, they left Psycho Music, signed to Warner Records, and another member left the group. Another attempt of creating the next BTS failed once again.
The American Music Award goes to
The K-Billboard? What the hell is a K-Billboard?
The latest attempt of finding the next BTS joined the forces of the K-pop industry and the biggest representative of the Western music industry, Billboard. The K-Billboard Awards was an event organized by the K-Culture Festival and Billboard, which attempted to highlight the biggest achievements of K-pop artists based on the
Is this thing still going on, or is it just a 2022 crap?
Billboard charts. The organizer said, "This is part of our mission to find the next BTS. We will strictly adhere to Billboard's point system." But do you know what happens when you adhere to Billboard's point system? BTS wins. So they also named the second place as the winner.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Continuing their strategy to associate K-pop groups with BTS, even when the gap between first and second place is abysmal.
There's been so many legends to walk through this door. There's been Frank Sinatra, the Beatles, Dean Martin, and now we have, wait for it, the Avengers of K-pop.
SM's founder, Lee Sung-man, was the one
Did the guy even believe a word that he was saying?
And now we have, wait for it, the Avengers of K-pop.
SM's founder, Lee Sung-man, was the one with the idea of creating the Avengers of K-pop, and this was one of his multiple attempts of creating the next BTS. But since he fails every time, at some point, the media started naming him as the mastermind behind BTS.
What did he have anything to do with BTS? They're not even from the same agency. The only common denominator is that they are Korean. Other than that, what was the connection between this dude from SM to BTS? BTS did not even follow the same promotional structure or strategy as SM. So, my goodness. Okay.
He literally had zero relation to the group. He was
Exactly.
actually managing groups that tried to directly compete against BTS. But he is not the only one. The three biggest K-pop labels are pushing the idea that their groups, he is not the only one.
Okay, I think the only thing I can say, if I have to argue for that point, is that because him and the group that he's trying to create to beat BTS, give BTS more reason to fight harder, and that contributed to the success of BTS because all their beat down. Maybe that's what the connection was. I don't know. Oh Lord.
The three biggest K-pop labels are pushing the idea that their groups are actually the next BTS. SM had the Avengers of K-pop, but since they are on a hiatus, he is now pushing a 4-member girl group to become the future of K-pop. YG is using media play and allegedly buying awards in small American award shows to pretend like his biggest girl group is on the same level as BTS. And most recently, JYP had Korean media suddenly releasing multiple articles naming his group as the next BTS. I don't think this is a coincidence. This all seems like premeditated media play. But how is it that they keep failing, even with all the media play they can get? I found some common factors in their failed attempts. First is lack of originality. If BTS releases an album trilogy about self-love and acceptance, K-pop starts singing about self-love and acceptance.
Love yourself.
And you can tell when they sing it, they don't even believe what they're singing. This like they're just singing with no emotion behind it. I don't feel they really believe that they need to love themselves.
As I began to love myself.
If BTS releases a song like Fake Love, K-pop groups immediately release songs with a dark aesthetic. BTS stops the dark aesthetic and releases Boy With Love. K-pop groups release songs with a pink aesthetic. BTS releases a song titled Life Goes On. K-pop releases Life
Even the cover is similar. You're outside, and it reminds me of In the Soup, or actually Bon Voyage with the camper. Really? And I remember, I'm not trying to say that they copy, but I'm just saying that when they first debuted in 2013, 2014, they were accused of being copycats. And now we see the whole thing, but nobody is accusing them being copycat, like, outright. But, it's just discrimination.
is still going on. BTS releases Smooth Like Butter, K-pop releases Sweet Like Mango. And these are just trivial examples that don't really matter much. The key here is lack of originality. K-pop does the same thing over and over again, and that is not necessarily a bad thing for a K-pop audience. But if you keep trying to make this work in a Western audience, you will keep failing. Number 2 is trying to be unique in the wrong aspect. When the next BTS attempts actually try to be original, they sometimes try to be original in everything but the music. An example of this is SM's attempt of creating a metaverse group with 4 members who are real people and 4 members who are their virtual alter egos. So producers are not trying to find unique, interesting artists with new, rare, or just not so common musical elements. They are trying to create groups
They're not even singing, are they?
that are different in aspects that music fans don't care about. I personally think that the Avengers of K-pop idea was not the worst idea ever, but they focused too much on everything except for the music. SM tried to sell the idea that this group's unique aspect was that, unlike BTS and the others, the members had a manly man aesthetic. But who cares if they look like masculine men with black clothes who are called the Avengers when their music is this?
You know how you get down, drop it, how we get down, drop it. We keep it jumping and popping here all night.
By the way, if you like this song, it's completely fine. I'm just saying that I think
Okay. Well, at least I'm not pissed off today. I'm just laughing because the song was just kind of. My personal opinion is trash. They are good looking boys, they can sing, they can dance, but the song itself was trash. But that's just my personal opinion.
We can all understand why it didn't succeed in America. So once they failed, they left the Milliman aesthetic and went back to the first mistake. Right after BTS released their first English single Dynamite and sang about shining through the city and being like Diamond, this group changed Diamond for Gold and sang in English about shining bright like gold. And don't get me wrong, there is nothing wrong with following music trends, but if that's all you do, you won't stand out, especially when you're trying so hard to create the next BTS. Number 3 is the lack of raw talent. Pretty people singing with loud pre-recorded vocals or playback are almost a rule in K-pop, but that won't work if you want to be the next BTS and you're debuting in America.
We holla.
Yeah, I know. That was what I said, right? Are they really singing? They're not singing. If they're not singing, why bother put a microphone next to their mouth? Just be open about it. They're gonna play the music in the background and it's gonna stand. They're just gonna dance. So why put a freaking microphone next to their mouth if they're not singing?
K-pop is prioritizing looks way more than it should be. YG admitted that his biggest girl group was just a prettier version of a previous girl group. He said, "If you ask me to distinguish my new group from my last group, I want to say I did not try to make them different. If you ask me what differentiates them from other girl groups, I will say I did not form them with that in mind. I tried to make a girl group like I did with my previous girl group, but this time I wanted the girls to look pretty."
Okay. Now yes, Blackpink girls are pretty, but so are the 21 girls. I don't know 21, but I think I've heard a few songs. I don't think I purposely seek out their music videos, but they pop up and okay.
Pretty too. I won't pretend like looks don't matter in the Western music industry, because they do, but good looks and a nice aesthetic is not enough. Korean labels need to...
Is this the guy that I was asking in my previous video about paving the way? Is this the guy from Stray Kids? He looks like him, but here he has a bit more makeup, so I'm not sure, but it looks like him. I don't follow Stray Kids. And to me, they're still, I don't know how old they are, but I don't know. I'm sure they're good boys and they're talented. I just have not followed them.
Start prioritizing at least a little of talent and passion for music. Finally, I think the next BTS attempts keep failing because music labels are obsessed with control and being the main character. I think they want to control...
This guy, I don't know. This guy give me the creeps, but
all of their group's steps because the CEOs want to be recognized for finding and paying the best.
He got a picture of himself. He is just all full of himself, right? Oh my goodness. Where's the poor dog? See, even the dog is hiding right now.
Songwriters in the industry instead of encouraging their interpreters to be artists. I think this is why JYP had articles putting his picture on his group's articles so he can be called the mastermind behind the next BTS. This is also why SM was everywhere saying that he was the one with the idea of creating the Avengers of K-pop and the Metaverse group.
I want to take the time to acknowledge a very special guest we have in the building. We have producer Mr. Suman Lee.
that's not what BTS's label did, and that's not what Namjoon did as the leader of BTS. They let the group shine as a group. With that said, I don't think it's necessarily bad that the producers behind a group explain the process of creating a group, but the focus should be on the group and their music, not on the CEOs. Number 5 is not accepting that BTS are way too out of their league. This person tweeted, "It all boils down to these labels refusing to accept that BTS is not just a K-pop group anymore. They are talked about in actual pop conversations. They have solidified a legacy. They are literally worldwide A-listers, global artists. Music labels make every move based off the fact that, well, they are a K-pop group, so the world must all love and want more K-pop. And that's just not how it works. That's why they keep failing."
Yeah, teach them. Show them how it's done.
So I guess if you as a producer or record label really want to create or be the mastermind behind the next BTS in terms of popularity, you need to look for very unique artists that are not necessarily going to be part of a group like BTS. I may be saying complete nonsense now because I'm not a record producer or anything like that, but the actual record producers and analysts have been studying BTS closely for years and they keep failing. So this is just what a simple music fan like me would do. Number 1, if you want to create the next big artist in America, you need to first focus on the music. Looks are great, but every single K-pop group has good looks. You need to step up your music game. You cannot debut in America with a song about being the best at jumping.
You have to tell me what jopping means.
Jumping
Yes?
and popping.
It's jopping, of course. Why did I ask?
Number 2, and this also applies to Western attempts, don't be mediocre and lazy. The reason why every single attempt of the next big boy band failed in 2016 and 2017, and also the reason why the comeback of all boy bands failed too, was because they were extremely mediocre when compared to BTS. This is the main reason why it's highly unlikely to find the next BTS, because BTS did not only set the bar extremely high for K-pop, but also for the Western music industry. So stop comparing yourself to BTS because that is a game that you are going to lose. Number 3, and this is for music labels, be patient. The Beatles, Michael Jackson, Queen, and BTS did not become the biggest artists in the world with their first release. Don't try to force or fake a big debut when it really isn't a big debut. And more importantly, don't be like Simon Cowell or SM and abandon your group when the media play didn't work. Small debuts are not necessarily a bad thing. The ones trying to create the next BTS are some of the biggest labels. So instead of spending all this money in fake achievements and media play, try to spend this money in keeping your group alive as long as you can so they can musically and artistically grow. Number 4, be different. If you really want to have a big debut like Olivia Rodrigo or Justin Bieber, look for what the music industry is missing, not what it already has. When Olivia Rodrigo debuted, the industry didn't have a Disney star sing about her love life for years. And when Justin Bieber debuted, he became the first teenage heartthrob born on the internet. Find something different because BTS's level of artistry takes years to replicate. BTS did not have a huge debut in South Korea, but when they entered the Western music industry, they had already perfected for more than 4 years artistic elements that the Western music industry didn't see before. In other words, to find the next BTS, you need to stop trying to find the next BTS. You may think that right now is the right time to create the next BTS, because BTS are not releasing music as a 7-member group for the next 2 years. But the fact that they are still planning to release a lot of music during this time is not a good sign to continue creating groups that resemble them. The Backstreet Boys took a 4-year hiatus, and during this time, no other boy band could become as big or bigger than them. And BTS's level of performance and music, as well as worldwide popularity, is even bigger and harder to replicate than the one of the Backstreet Boys. This is how hard it will forever be to replicate BTS. Even if the BTS members release no music at all during this time or any other time in the future, that actually leaves K-pop at disadvantage in the Western music industry because all the hype around K-pop is born with an interest in BTS. K-pop's achievements in the West are not K-pop's achievements, they are BTS's achievements. So if BTS stops being BTS, K-pop will definitely be bigger than what they were before 2017, but they will go back to being a niche interest because the ones giving K-pop the title of mainstream are BTS only. Without them, K-pop has no legendary records in the West. I know it's hard to believe because of all the media play that exists trying to devalue BTS's popularity and art, but musical acts like BTS are once in a lifetime. We don't know if the next big thing is even going to be a group from South Korea or a boy band from the UK. By the way things are going on right now, there are more chances of having the next big legendary artist come from a Spanish-speaking country, and there are way more chances for these legendary artists to be a soloist, but that would only happen by promoting the artist as their own authentic self. And this is something that BTS is doing right now while they release solo albums. So it looks like the next BTS is BTS, not only because their comeback in 2025 will be extremely hard to match, but also it looks like all the K-pop categories in Western award shows will go for BTS members either way. Even in South Korea, J-Hope, the only BTS member who has released a solo album until now, already has 6 award nominations, including Song of the Year and Artist of the Year, against himself in BTS. So stop trying to find the next BTS because number 1, BTS is still here, and number 2, you're setting your groups up for failure. Music labels, K-pop fans, and the media need to wake up and stop humiliating their groups like this. Let your performers become artists. Let them be small so they can grow, and let them grow organically, because that was BTS's story, and they did not become the next somebody. They became the first BTS.
근데 사실 저는 그 제2의 방탄소년단, 제2의 뭐뭐가 좀 존재하지 않는다고 생각을 해요. 저희도 이제.
Yeah, so that was the next BTS. I'm glad that I was not as triggered as I was expecting because I got all my anger out when I watched the BTS against versus boy band video that I did a few months ago. I got all my anger out of my system at that time. So this one pretty much just laughing because those music label are just making a fool of themselves and as she put it, right, humiliating their own group. So why do that? but as of today, I think J-Hope is releasing his album. Jin's already released Astronaut, the single, and we have Indigo from R.E.M. And we have and we're gonna have Jimin coming out with the new album. And V has a new show, and Suga has all the radio, and Suga's tour is coming. So as you mentioned, the next BTS will be BTS. So it is how it is. If you don't like it, then we are sorry. And that's it for today. Until next time, have a wonderful day. Bye.